Please leave a message after the tone.
Hey Jill, it's Mark from Apex. I've been running the numbers all night. I just don't see a path forward. Between the shutdown freezing our payments and these new FAR modifications, all these new unintended consequences, the risk is just too high. I'm at a crossroads. Do I pivot the company? Try to find a larger partner to team with? Or should I just be looking to sell? I really don't know what to do next. You've always been a great strategic partner, not just a banker. Please call me. I really need your advice.
Welcome to Pick Up. Today we're tackling a major upheaval in the world of small government contracting. Recent shifts in the rules are creating significant new burdens for these companies, and many are feeling blindsided. To help us understand what's happening and why it matters, and what contractors can do about it, we have two fantastic experts. I'm very excited to hear from you both. So one of the things that I like to do on the pod is botch people's last names. So we're gonna give it a whirl from a pronunciation standpoint. So first of all, we have Shirley Collier.
Collier.
Yeah. I was gonna go.
So it's Scotch Irish, not French.
Okay, so I was talking to Tim, our producer, ahead of time, and I was like, I'm gonna go French, and then it went the other way. But see, this is why I'm thinking I'm like 0 for 4 at this point. Shirley is the president of Scale to Market and a leading expert on federal acquisition regulation, or FAR, which we are going to get deep into the lore of today. She's been deep in the trenches, analyzing these changes and advising businesses on how to navigate the new landscape. Shirley, thank you for joining us. We're excited to have you here.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. And representing the banking perspective, Jill, I'm totally going to screw this one up. So Jill Cochones.
Cochones. Very close.
I was close.
Yes, very close.
It was close. Not quite there.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah.
Good enough for government work, right?
Right.
So I got to get one dad joke in. You work day in and day out with government contracting businesses and seeing firsthand how these regulatory shifts are impacting those businesses. So I think we're just eager to hear it from the customer standpoint and what people are feeling. And before we get into that, because, part of this is we got a couple different audiences for the pod. We have obviously the folks that are listening in because they're government contractors and they're like, Shirley, Jill, help me. I'm gasping for air, And we got other folks that are just like, that are customers of the bank, business people that are just kind of curious about what's happening in the market. And so we want to kind of just sort of like set the table for folks. And so I think starting with the basics for our listeners, I know this might be elementary. I called this the 101 section, but like small government contractors, give me a sense of like, what kind of businesses are we talking about? Help paint a picture for us.
So the government buys everything from pencils to rockets, spaceships. So it covers the gamut. My area of specialty is professional services, accountants, lawyers, those sorts of things, and IT, all areas of IT, including artificial intelligence, robotics, big data, all those areas.
Okay. And so when you think about small government contractors, and maybe you could even sort of talk about some of the clients you have in your portfolio, or you don't have to name them by name,
right?
Unless you want to. Because I think a lot of us think about government contracting, like we think about the big boys,
yeah,
right?
Sure.
Like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, spaceships. Just give us some examples of some of the folks you work with on day in and day out.
Some of our clients, they're considered small GovCons. They do everything from provide security at different facilities. We have a client who works primarily with the FAA, providing various services. It can be, services surrounding defense. We're looking at a prospect right now who provides cleaning services to various agencies. So it really can run the gamut.
Yeah. So I guess I think for people who are maybe not familiar with government contracting, especially, it's like you're deep in the service sector, it's like everything that happens within the federal government, most likely they're contracting that out to a third party, right? Is that
Yes.
fair?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some portion
Yeah.
of it. Yes.
Yeah. I think that's just helpful for everyone to understand. So the other piece that I know I sort of touched on when at the intro here is FAR.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to get into FAR, not too far, right?
Right.
Another bad. But what is FAR? Just kind of help us understand.
Federal acquisition regulations. They were started probably 35 years ago now, and those are the procurement rules. Those are the rules under which every federal agency must operate to acquire anything, any goods or services.
So, and then my last kind of question for this section is, what is happening at a high level? Because I think the title of this episode, because pick up that call, calling it the GovCon squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
What is happening? What's forcing government contractors to pick up the phone and get assistance with these changes that are happening with the FAR?
So there's an executive order that was signed back in April that requires the FAR Council to review every part of the FAR. There are 53 parts of the FAR, and to strike any provision that's not codified in law and some other qualifications. But basically, the executive order is all about streamlining procurements and getting the best price for the best quality. So the reason that this is significant is that when the FAR was first written, it had two objectives: best price, best product, and to fulfill public policy. Fulfill public policy has been struck out.
Okay.
FAR Part 1 struck that out, and that kind of sets the stage for everything that comes in the remaining 52 parts.
So it's been ostensibly simplified to focus on best price, best quality, but it seems like there's this other kind of intangible public good component that's now been removed from it. Is that?
It has been significantly weakened. And that's one of the things that we're going to be talking about today, some of the specific language now that has changed in the FAR that impacts small disadvantaged businesses.
Got it. And then it's just, again, for the folks that maybe aren't familiar, who falls into the kind of category of small disadvantaged businesses? Because I feel like, maybe there's some assumptions, but it's probably more reaching than people probably understand, right? Yeah,
so as 8As, a lot of people have heard of 8A companies, and so those are traditionally just disadvantaged companies in general. When the 8A program first started, it was primarily people of color, so it was race-based, but that was changed several years ago. So now it's not race-based, it's disadvantaged. You have to prove disadvantage in order to get qualified, to get certified as 8A. But it also includes women-owned small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small business.
So huge segments of the population that are business owners fall into this category of.
There are over 10,000 businesses that are signed up on the SAM, the System for Award Management, which is sort of the central vendor database.
Yeah.
Over 10,000 disadvantaged businesses.
It's a significant number. It's a large number of businesses.
Yes.
So I think one of the I think it's always humorous when we have new legislation that is like the names of these legislation is, sometimes we have some fun acronyms. Sometimes we have phrasing that is maybe ironic. And so this one's called the executive order that you had mentioned it's the Restoring Common Sense to Federal Procurement.
Yes.
And it sounds to me like we've maybe not restored common sense, or maybe the common sense that we're looking to restore is having an effect that we didn't anticipate.
Exactly right. It's the latter. I think that common sense is a nonsense term because common to whom?
Mm.
The impact is that there's more competition now for small business set aside contracts than there was before.
Mhm.
So small businesses are being required to compete for contracts that they before did not
Compete against each other or just compete?
against each other and against large
Okay.
businesses.
Yeah.
So they're competing on a couple of different playing fields. At the same time, the narrative in the budget for 2026,
Mhm.
as well as the NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act for 26, is giving contracting offices a lever to pull that will allow them to do more direct, non-competitive awards for large businesses. So the result is small businesses compete more, large businesses compete less.
And kind of creating this a little bit of a dog eat dog kind of thing with small businesses where they're sort of having to
Yes.
fight to the death a little bit to win.
The way I describe it is that there's smaller pie
Yeah.
and a smaller slice
Okay.
of the smaller pie. So to give you some numbers here, the previous administration executive order increased the small disadvantaged business goal to 15%.
hmm
So the actual amount of the federal discretionary budget that was spent on small businesses in 2024 was 11%. The first day of the Trump administration, he signed an executive order reducing that goal down to 5%,
Okay.
which is statutory, required 5%. Just that the previous administration had said the 5% is a floor, not a ceiling. And the current administration is kind of implying, although they don't say this, but sort of implying that 5% is going to be the ceiling.
So we're seeing a very different posture
Yes.
from administration to administration in terms of friendliness to small businesses.
Yes.
And I guess, Jill, you have a lot of small business customers.
Yes.
And so as these, regulations or the executive order has started to roll out, like what does it feel like on the ground a little bit for some of these folks? What are they experiencing? What are you hearing that maybe they didn't have to deal with before?
A lot of stress, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of wait
Mhm.
and see. Competition was rigorous to begin with. And now with all of the changes that have come about, not just with the FAR, with Doge, and now with the government shutdown, it's created so much change and uncertainty and nervousness about, okay, where do we go? What is our plan going to be? Who do we go to? More questions than anything. And we're seeing clients are having to shift their strategic plan. We've seen some of our clients are specifically targeting additional agencies that they normally wouldn't.
Yep.
In an effort to diversify. Other clients are looking to the commercial world, see if they can't drum up some business from there. So, in a way, I think it's good, this diversification. But it's also creating a lot of stress and uncertainty for the small business owners.
But on a positive note, it's not a shrinking market. That's what a lot of people misunderstand.
Sure.
So the 2026 budget is $4.8 trillion. The 2025 budget was $4.6 trillion. So the overall budget, the overall spending has increased. It's just that where it's being spent is
Right.
different.
So it's more of a geography problem, like where businesses are going to have to sort of find a new market. Like the market's there.
Yes.
The money's just shifting around.
Yes.
But now they're going to have to chase it in a different way. And to your point, they're already highly qualified. These are businesses that have I'm assuming, have lots of experience in working with the federal government, but now they're having to rethink their business strategy a little bit.
Yes.
Yes.
Not only chasing the money, but chasing what the money is being spent on
Mm-hmm.
and with whom.
And so where are you seeing it? Where's the money flowing now?
Department of Defense
Mm-hmm.
and DHS.
Mm-hmm.
So the DHS budget for 26 is $90 billion. And for defense is 1.6 trillion. So there's a lot of money, being spent
Indeed.
just in those two agencies.
But with all of these changes, what's happening is companies they're having to act very quickly
Mm-hmm.
and very aggressively, more so now than ever.
From a pricing standpoint, or from a business development standpoint?
From
or both?
Both,
Mm-hmm.
truly, both.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from their products and services perspective, because there is an emphasis on innovation.
Yeah.
There's an emphasis on efficiency, operational efficiency, leveraging IT more than the government has in the past. So that's the positive side of things. And small businesses can respond much faster than larger businesses.
Be more nimble.
And the innovation comes from small businesses. I mean, I've always said innovation comes from small businesses. Scale comes from large businesses. And we need that disruptive cycle to have a healthy economy.
And I think when we had the pre-production meeting, I think one of the things that you had mentioned is that innovation and job creation are largely a responsibility, and to some extent, by small businesses.
Of small businesses, absolutely. So what the changes to the FAR mean that we will have less opportunity to leverage the flexibility, the innovation, and the business smarts of small disadvantaged businesses, because previously contracting officers could give them direct awards, direct non-competitive awards up to $5.5 million.
Yeah.
Still a very, very small portion of the $4.8 trillion that the government spends. And now contracting officers are prohibited from giving direct non-competitive awards to small disadvantaged businesses. They must compete the procurement, which means more expense for putting together a proposal.
Yeah.
A proposal in the federal sector can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars
Just to put together
the proposal.
Yes, lots of people hours.
Yes.
So go into that more so than most of us understand.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, when you work in the private sector, there's always that kind of upfront cost when it comes to business development. But I guess, because the government buys at such rigorous standards, there's all that additional layer of work that has to go in just to win the bid.
Yes. The proposal management and processing process is so extraordinarily laborious. And that's one of the things I have to say that the FAR Council is trying to solve is to make procurements more efficient, but they're making it more efficient for larger businesses, not necessarily making it more efficient for smaller businesses.
Well, so is this where the rule of two comes into play as we were talking? I know that you had mentioned this in our earlier meeting in terms of creating competition. Is this where this comes into play a little bit?
Well, the rule of two specifies that if a procurement can be performed by at least two small businesses, then that procurement has to be set aside as a competition among small businesses. A significant portion of small business contracts to date have been under this rule of two. So when the FAR Council, under this new executive order, was looking at every provision of the FAR, so the rule of two is in Part 19, small businesses were really afraid that the rule of two would be struck down. We learned on September 26th that it was not. It was not struck down, but it has severe limitations.
Such as?
Let me get my notes because I want to make sure that I say this very specifically
Of course,
because
we want to be
there's
accurate.
well, and there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yes.
Chicken Little, kind of
Sure.
going on. So I do want to talk about some of the specific restrictions under the new Rule of Two, which is FAR Part 19.104. If anybody wants to look it up
So
specifically.
for listeners who want to pause and look up one of the, you said 53,
FAR Part 19.
Part 19.
Dot 104.
And read it themselves, or they could just throw it into ChatGPT and have them summarize it. No, we would never do that.
Of course not.
We would digest the information ourselves, but I'll let you
Yes.
go.
So, okay, there are 5 restrictions, and I've mentioned a couple of these before, but I want to mention them specifically here. So, contracting officers are no longer required to prioritize socioeconomic certified businesses. So now they can just set it aside for small businesses, which are not socioeconomically certified. So that means that small disadvantaged businesses are going to begin competing against other small businesses. And in the federal sector, a small business can be up to $35 million.
Okay. Yeah.
So we're talking about a $1 million business competing with a $35 million business.
Which is huge. Huge.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah.
The second is that contracting officers are not obligated to set aside task orders under multi-award contracts. So a multi-award contract is a master contract that you get on, and then all the winners of that contract compete on task orders.
What is a task order? Just for
So a task
everyone?
order is work that the government wants to have performed,
Yeah.
and they'll send out a request for proposal to respond to this need.
Yeah.
And it's called a task order instead of an RFP. It's
Got it.
not a big contract.
Got it.
So now,
Yeah.
under the new provisions, contracting officers are not obligated to set aside task orders for small businesses, and that can no longer be protested.
Okay.
So you might not like it, but you have no legal recourse as a small business. You have no legal recourse.
So up until this executive order, there was always just some amount of contracts that were just specifically set aside for small businesses.
Yes.
So that's entirely going away now. Or there's no obligation.
There's no obligation.
Okay.
There's no obligation.
There will still be contracts set aside for small businesses.
Right.
It's just not mandated in the way it was previously.
Right.
Mhm.
And you know how that works.
I'm sure. Yes. When you
You
don't
don't have
mandate.
to.
Yeah. If you don't have to do it,
Right.
it probably won't happen.
Probably won't happen.
Yeah.
So regarding the 8A program, one of the major changes there is that a contract that was set aside for an 8A
Mhm.
company, when it comes up for recompete, can be taken out of the 8A program
Okay.
and competed among any socioeconomically certified company
Okay.
without getting approval from the SBA.
Got it.
So this is bad for 8A companies because now they're competing against woman-owned small businesses, ISDV, OSBs, service disabled, veteran-owned small businesses. But on the other hand, for other SDBs, small disadvantaged businesses, they now can compete for what used to be exclusively 8A set-aside contracts.
Mhm.
So kind of taking away and
Right.
giving, at the
It's
same
not
time.
entirely bad.
Entirely bad. Yes.
We're on point 4, right?
Yes. Point 4 is competition is being prioritized over self-source awards. I mentioned that earlier. And so the way the wording is that any contract under 5.5 million must be competed.
Okay.
And only if there is, the competition is not feasible, whatever that means, can they do a sole source award. Whereas it used to be one of the strategies I would teach my clients is to go in and ask for a sole source award up to $5.5 million.
Just ask for it
The
outright.
contracting officer likes you, you're competent, you're qualified,
Yeah.
you can do the work. And it saves the contracting office a heck of a lot of
Sure.
expense
Yeah.
and time to get a contractor.
And they have
in.
the discretion to
They
do
had
that.
the discretion to do that.
Yeah.
That discretion is now gone. So, and this one's kind of obscure, but it's something that small businesses need to be aware of. But recertification at the task order level of a multi-award contract is no longer required. Now, what that means is that if, let's say, a company is a $20 million company and they win a prime position on a multi-award contract, multi-year, some of these contract instruments are 10 years, and they size out, which means they're over $35 million right now, so they're no longer small. Under the new provision, they can compete for small business set-aside task orders for the duration of the multi-award contract. So it could be for another 8 years. They're a $50 million, $100 million company, and they're competing against small businesses.
I mean, so as they grow, they can still stay in the running to compete.
Right. Yes.
Yes.
And this is directly opposed to the SBA regulations. So right now, FAR has one set of rules and the SBA has another set of rules.
Fun. Conflicting government regulation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing, a lot of disruption, a lot of upheaval. I think, we sort of talked about earlier on there's the size of the pie, it's getting big. Well, not the pie is getting smaller. The slices are getting smaller.
Yes.
The amount of money overall is getting bigger. So there's like a net gain in terms of dollars available.
Yes. But you have to compete for those dollars outside of the small business program.
It's a more aggressive competition.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And so what I'm encouraging.
So from like varsity to the Olympics or something.
Yes. And I'm encouraging my small clients to partner with other small businesses and to go after full and open contracts. Because some of these smaller businesses they're very competent, have advanced technologies. They have past performance, really smart people, and you aggregate them and they can compete effectively against the big guys.
So that was going to be my kind of as we talk through, as we make the turn here, sort of, and like to think about sort of like, well, when we talk to, subject matter experts, and we talk through the things or changes, regulation that's upending some part of the industry. There's at the end, we're like, try to be solution oriented, right? There's like a pivot, right? And so I think my understanding is like, some businesses are exiting the market, right? They're like saying, I've had enough. Like, is that something that you're seeing?
We have actually seen, we've seen a couple of companies actually sell because they're losing sleep at night. And those are the words that a client used. And so
is there a market for that right now? Are you seeing that?
So absolutely. Absolutely.
In certain sectors, absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. So
are they selling to other, is there like consolidation that you're witnessing?
They're selling to other companies.
Yeah.
So
other GovCons.
Other GovCons. So that GovCon they may be providing a service that other GovCon would like to start performing.
Yeah.
Or it may just be an expansion. So we are seeing a lot of still merger and acquisition going on, some of which is directly related to all of these changes that have happened.
And there's more private equity money flowing into the GovCon market.
To help with this kind of inorganic growth. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah. Consolidating, roll up. Doing well up.
So for business owners that kind of have ambitions of growing, and maybe the path to sort of organic growth through winning more contracts is slower. If they have the appetite, there seems like there's companies out there that are willing to, that maybe hadn't considered selling before, but now they're like, hey, maybe I'm ready to be out. Maybe I want to take a back seat, and it's a growth opportunity for some of these businesses.
Yes, for some it will be. For others, sadly, it won't. But there is opportunity out there. You have to know the right people. That's why we always advise clients in situations like this: be really proactive. Have conversations with your banker, have conversations with your accountant, your attorney. One thing that our GovCon group does is we come with an arsenal of partnerships, right? People like Shirley, and accountants and attorneys that should and when our clients need those services, we're ready to make the connection for them. And we're there to help them pivot and get answers to the questions they have.
And it sounds like, oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
And I can't tell you how important that is to have a banker who really understands the government contracting market. It is unlike any other industry. It's highly regulated. It's very competitive. It's changing. The rules are changing. It always changes with every administration, just slightly. But this has been a sea change. We've seen more changes this year than we have seen in the last 30 years of federal procurement. So having a banker who supports that and understands and can help you with the appropriate financial resources to get you through, priceless.
And we, for example, our GovCon group, we have already set a plan in place.
Like a playbook.
Exactly. We have a documented playbook of how we are going to help clients get through all of these changes, whatever their needs may be. And again, to my point, at the end of the day, it's not just about providing the money.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to provide services to these clients that they need, not just throw money out there, right? Because any bank can do that. Banks have money to lend, right? So I like to say again, that's what our group comes with an arsenal of partnerships of people who are willing and ready to help the GovCons.
Well, it sounds to me that, if one of the pathways for, an existing government contractor is a sale, there's a whole slew, like you can screw that up, right? So like
Yes.
having
Very
the
much
right
so.
people around you
Yes.
to make sure that executes
Right.
flawlessly, like that's a must have. And then on the other side, if you're a buyer, similarly, like,
Yep.
you're looking for that multiple, like you want to make sure that, hey, this was a good investment. We're
Yes.
like whatever we think the ROI is going to be, and that ensure, we have to price it appropriately. And I'm sure that there's all kinds of like considerations when merging businesses, that
Absolutely.
stuff that I don't even know that that I think has to be readily available. But I think for the businesses that aren't looking at the kind of roll up or inorganic opportunity, and they're looking at a market that's been disrupted. I know that, as you mentioned, playbook, like what are the things that you're seeing businesses do to be ready? I know we touched on some of them or like what actions are they taking? Where are they seeing kind of like, what are they doing?
One of the big changes coming about in the FAR is a focus on commercial products, which means that the government is more willing now than it has in the past to buy stuff that's off the shelf that can be just modified, customized just slightly, rather than building from scratch.
So thinking more like productized as a business.
Yes.
Okay.
And a lot of small businesses have been developing apps and doing a variety of things. So what I'm advising them right now is put a label on it, put a shrink wrap.
Brand it.
Brand it.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Marketing.
Yes, marketing. And, I think you can get in and do a demonstration of how you're using artificial intelligence and robotics and big data and a bunch of other things.
Make it easy for them to buy a thing, right?
Buy a thing and then customize it later. Yes. So that's one thing.
Because what I'm hearing is like, it's typically the other way, right? Like buy enterprise, like buy fully custom, and then you're customizing your way into oblivion. And obviously this is probably along the lines of creating a more streamlined, budget friendly procurement process.
Yes, exactly.
And to that point, it's typically the companies that are really good at doing what Shirley was talking about, they're the small businesses.
Yes.
They're the ones that you said, again, they are able to be very nimble.
Yes.
And the playing field has dramatically changed for those folks.
So what else? What else can they do? What else are you seeing in the market?
There is more emphasis on innovation than there ever has been, which I'm really glad to see because one of my businesses was highly innovative. It was technology transfer from the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Laboratory, and it was
Just going to drop that in there. No big deal.
Well, it was a very disruptive technology, and so what I learned, this was 10 years ago, but what I learned was that if you have an innovative, disruptive technology, the big guys don't like it at all.
Okay.
And they have close relationships with the programs and the contracting officers and those sorts of things. So, all of a sudden, no one's returning your calls, and you just can't. You don't understand what's happening. And I was actually at a trade show, and I was going from booth to booth, talking to all the big guys about my technology. And I finally had someone, a gentleman that works for one of those companies, and he kind of pulled me aside after day 3, and he said, and I had shown him, my technology, and he said, "You don't understand. You're not going to get anywhere with this. We have multi-billion-dollar, multi-year contracts to do the old way, and we're not going to disrupt that." So I am glad to hear that innovation, and in fact, the contracting offices are supposed to be getting innovation coaches. So to teach them on how to
not do the old way.
Yes, how to recognize and foster innovation, and that's coming from small businesses.
Well, I think to me, that's such a positive, right? Because it's like, why are we as taxpayers spending all this money on a way to do something that is antiquated when you have all these, America is the, technology innovation hub.
Yes.
Yes. We should be doing the new, awesome, better, innovative way.
Yes. And a very quick way to vet those technologies. And the Department of Defense has several new programs for vetting software and hardware that is embedded in the National Defense Authorization Act. That's part of the 26 budget, which has not been signed into law yet. But so there are some things coming that I think will be very beneficial to the government and to the American people if enacted so that small businesses have a place at the table.
Yeah. I know a couple of the things that we had touched on earlier in our conversation was one, businesses teaming up, which is typically something that you weren't seeing as much of before, right? I think this is something that I think Shirley or Jill, you had mentioned, like you're encouraging your clients to or seeing more of. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that was always happening historically, but I think because of all of these changes, people are making a much stronger effort to look at their other options. How can they diversify? How can they get ahead of the game? And again, they're having to move very quickly and very aggressively. And most of them can. Are we seeing more partnering? Probably. And I think as time goes on, I think we're going to continue to see more of that.
Absolutely. And one of the trends that I am seeing is that the companion part of IT transformation is to transform business processes. So you can come in and automate a mess, and you're just going to have an automated mess. So
yes, garbage in, garbage out.
Yes. So there is demand for people who think in an agile manner and strategically and understand systems and processes and people and objectives. So right now there's a lot of silos in the federal government, and I'm seeing that there's demand for people who can come in and look across the silos and design from a business perspective a new system. Then the technologists can come in and do their thing.
As I'm listening to a lot of this disruption, right? I sort of think about the private sector, and I think about tech, like the Silicon Valley, right? And that the mantra there, the culture is like constantly disrupting for the purpose of innovation.
Yep.
And for the purpose of creating new, like you had the internet, you had mobile, you had social network, all these things have been disruptive, but have birthed a lot of new and good things coming out of it. Do you see any kind of like, I know that it's foreign probably to the federal government, but it seems like this is kind of a natural extension of like a culture that's kind of been brewing, I think, maybe in the technology industry.
It has been brewing for quite a while in the private sector. Government moves very slowly, so is kind of a culture shock going on right now among government employees. Primarily, the commercial market is ready to move and rock and roll, and they have technologies when the government is ready for it. My fear with some of these changes to the FAR is that we're going to see a consolidation of innovation and technology among the big companies. It's not the big companies consolidating with one another, but that contracts are going to be going to just the big companies, and there's no requirement that those large companies subcontract to small companies. In fact, I have some facts and figures on that. There is a way for contracting officers, one of the levers that they can pull to give a direct non-compete award is called a justification and approval, J&A. In the first 9 months of this year, we have seen 4 times the number of J&A contracts compared to all of last year. 4 times more. And when you look at those, they don't say what the justification is, but they just say 1.2 billion goes here, 500 million is going here, and they're all large companies.
So, as we kind of bring this to a close, any kind of final thoughts, guidance to our small business, small contracting friends? I think we've got a lot of really good suggestions, and I think there's a lot of bright spots.
Yes.
But how do you want to leave them?
I would say that it's not all doom and gloom. And in fact, there are some changes that are coming about that are being recommended by OMB. They're being embedded in the NDAA and the budget narrative for 26, reduced amount of audits. And so there's going to be somewhat of a regulatory relief for small businesses. So that's number one. But if there are government contractors that are devoted to serving the American people and providing services to the federal government, there are a couple of things that they can do. Modify their products and services to be more focused on what the government needs now. The government is looking for innovation. They want to leverage artificial intelligence. They want to use more commercial products. So if you have expertise in any of those areas, whether it's be on the business process side of it or on the IT and engineering side of it, there's a bright future. There's a lot of money being spent in those areas.
Chill. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts would be, again, it's not all gloom and doom. I encourage people, business owners, be proactive. Call your banker, call your CPA, call your attorney to get the accurate information, and know that not all banks operate equally. If you're somewhere where you're feeling like you're not getting the attention and the expertise that you would really like, there's opportunity out there. You should have a bank that really understands the nuances of lending to government contractors. That's critical, especially when we're in a time where there's so much to navigate. And if you do have the right bank, then with that will come other added resources to help you.
So I think what I'm hearing is if you're not having the conversation that sounds like this conversation with your banker, your lawyer, your CPA, time to pick up the phone,
Right.
and maybe reach out and just see who else is out there. And I think on that, Shirley, where can people find you?
scaletomarket.com with the number 2 in the middle.
Okay.
And I'm on LinkedIn as well.
On LinkedIn.
Yes.
And you, Jill, where can people find you?
People can find me on our website. They can go to my LinkedIn page as well. Happy to take calls and speak with people just about, what our team can offer you as a GovCon and how we can help you grow.
And JJ, I would also say that I will provide some links to some of the documents that I've been referring to, the executive orders, the budget, the FAR rewrite, and so forth. That would be good resources to put in the show notes.
Yeah, I think we'll have LinkedIn bios, links in the show description. Shirley, Jill, thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Of course. See you guys next time.